The stillness of the night was shattered. Gunshots. Beverly Hills, August 20th, 1989. A luxurious mansion, now a tomb. Inside, a scene of unimaginable horror. Blood splattered on the white carpet, the air thick with the smell of gunpowder. Police rushed in, hearts pounding. Two bodies lay lifeless. Jose Menendez, a successful executive, slumped on the couch. Mary Louise, his wife, sprawled on the floor. Their faces, riddled with bullets, were frozen in eternal agony. Who could have committed such a heinous act? The silence was broken by the sound of sobbing. Two young men, their faces stained with tears, emerged from the shadows. Lyle and Erik Menendez, the sons of the victims, claimed they had just returned home to this nightmare. But something didn't feel right. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The grief seemed genuine, the fear palpable. But there was a lingering suspicion. Something about the brothers' stories didn't add up. The investigation was just beginning. Lyle and Erik. Two brothers bound by blood and tragedy. Lyle the elder was 21. Handsome and charismatic, he possessed a natural air of confidence. Erik, 18, was quieter, more introverted. He sought solace in sports and the company of his brother. They were the sons of privilege, raised in a world of wealth and luxury. Their parents, Jose and Kitty, had showered them with material possessions. Private schools, expensive cars, lavish vacations. The Menendez brothers wanted for nothing. But beneath the veneer of success, a darkness lurked. The brothers bore the weight of a terrible secret. A secret that would soon send shockwaves through the nation. A secret that would pit brother against brother, family against family, and truth against lies. As the police delved into the lives of Lyle and Erik, a complex and disturbing picture began to emerge. The brothers, once perceived as victims of a senseless tragedy, were now at the center of a chilling mystery. Jose Menendez, a Cuban immigrant, was the embodiment of the American dream. He had risen from humble beginnings to become a powerful Hollywood executive. Ruthless and ambitious, he demanded success, both in business and in his personal life. Kitty, his wife, was a former beauty queen. She tried to maintain a facade of normalcy, but beneath the surface, she was deeply troubled. The pressure of maintaining their lavish lifestyle, coupled with her husband's controlling nature, took a heavy toll. Their parenting style was a toxic mix of excessive indulgence and suffocating control. They showered their sons with gifts but withheld affection and emotional support. Discipline was harsh, expectations impossibly high. The Menendez household was a pressure cooker, a breeding ground for resentment and anger. Behind the closed doors of their Beverly Hills mansion, a family was falling apart. The seeds of violence were sown in silence and despair. As the investigation progressed, a dark chapter in the Menendez family history began to unfold. Rumors of abuse, long whispered and ignored, surfaced with renewed urgency. Friends and relatives recalled disturbing incidents, fleeting glimpses into the family's dark underbelly.
I confided in my therapist about my father's controlling behavior.
Erik, more withdrawn and troubled, had expressed his fear and resentment in his private journals.
I felt trapped, living a nightmare, unable to escape the cycle of abuse and manipulation.
The defense team, led by the renowned attorney Leslie Abramson, seized on these allegations. They painted a picture of two young men driven to desperation, their actions a desperate act of self-defense against an abusive father. The prosecution, however, remained skeptical. They argued that the brothers' claims of abuse were a cynical ploy, a desperate attempt to escape justice. The public was torn. Could these privileged young men who seemingly had it all truly have been victims of such horrific abuse? Or were they simply using the abuse card to justify a cold-blooded murder? The lines between victim and perpetrator became blurred, the truth lost in a maelstrom of accusations and denials. Section 5. The Breaking Point. The summer of 1989 was a pressure cooker. Tensions within the Menendez family reached a boiling point. Jose, ever demanding, had become increasingly critical of his sons. Lyle's academic performance had faltered and Erik's tennis career had stalled. Kitty, struggling with her own demons, withdrew further into herself.
The brothers, once inseparable, found themselves drifting apart. Lyle, desperate for his father's approval, lashed out in anger and frustration.
Erik, more introverted, retreated further into himself. Then, the unthinkable happened. According to the brothers' later testimony, a confrontation with their father turned violent. Years of suppressed rage and resentment exploded.
They claimed they acted in self-defense, fearing for their lives. The prosecution, however, presented a different narrative. They argued that the murders were premeditated, driven by greed, and a desire to inherit the family fortune. The brothers, they claimed, had coldly and calculatedly planned their parents' demise. Section 6, A Web of Lies. In the days following the murders, Lyle and Erik Menendez embarked on a spending spree. They bought new cars, expensive watches, and designer clothes. They traveled to New York and dined at the finest restaurants. Their behavior, seemingly callous and indifferent, raised eyebrows.
The police, already suspicious, began to uncover inconsistencies in the brothers' stories. Their alibis crumbled under scrutiny. The murder weapon, a shotgun purchased days before the killings, was never found.
The brothers, confronted with mounting evidence, changed their stories. They claimed they had been gambling on the night of the murders. Then they admitted to buying the shotgun but insisted it was for self-defense.
Their lies, it seemed, were unraveling. The prosecution pounced on these inconsistencies, portraying the brothers as cunning manipulators, weaving a web of deceit to cover their tracks. The defense, however, argued that the brothers' behavior was a product of fear and trauma, their actions driven by panic and confusion. Section 7, The Trial of the Century. The Menendez trial, which began in 1993, captivated the nation. The case had it all: wealth, privilege, family secrets, and a brutal double murder. The courtroom became a stage for a dramatic clash of personalities and legal strategies.
The prosecution presented a straightforward case. Lyle and Erik, motivated by greed and entitlement, had murdered their parents in cold blood. They pointed to the brothers' lavish spending after the murders as evidence of their lack of remorse.
The defense, however, offered a starkly different narrative. They argued that the brothers had acted in self-defense, driven to desperation by years of physical and sexual abuse. Their actions, they claimed, were a tragic but understandable response to a lifetime of trauma. The most dramatic moments of the trial came during the brothers' testimony.
I maintain my innocence. My father was controlling, and I lived in constant fear and resentment.
Lyle, composed and articulate, maintained his innocence. He spoke of his father's controlling behavior and his own fear and resentment.
I was terrified. The abuse, it was unbearable. I just wanted to escape. I felt so much shame.
Erik, more emotional and vulnerable, broke down in tears as he described the alleged abuse he had suffered at the hands of his father. He spoke of his fear, his shame, and his desperate desire to escape his father's control. Their testimony, raw and emotional, divided the public. Some saw the brothers as victims, finally breaking free from a cycle of abuse. Others saw them as skilled manipulators, using their acting skills to sway the jury. The trial became a battle of experts. Psychologists and psychiatrists took the stand, offering conflicting interpretations of the brothers' mental state.
The brothers are suffering from affluenza, a condition characterized by a sense of entitlement and a lack of remorse.
The prosecution's experts argued that the brothers were suffering from affluenza, a condition characterized by a sense of entitlement and a lack of remorse. The defense's experts countered that the brothers were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, their actions a direct result of the abuse they had endured. The jury, bombarded with conflicting evidence and emotional testimony, faced an impossible task. The Menendez trial highlighted the complexities of family dynamics and the devastating impact of abuse. It forced the public to confront uncomfortable truths about wealth, privilege, and the dark secrets that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly perfect lives. After months of testimony and deliberation, the jury remained deadlocked. The judge declared a mistrial. The case, however, was far from over. A second trial without the possibility of a life sentence began in 1995. This time the jury reached a verdict. Lyle and Erik Menendez were found guilty of first-degree murder. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The brothers, once the picture of youthful privilege, were now condemned to spend the rest of their lives behind bars. The verdict, while not unexpected, sparked debate. Some believed justice had been served, while others questioned whether the brothers' history of abuse had been adequately considered. The Menendez case continued to fascinate and divide the public, becoming a staple of true crime documentaries and television shows. The Menendez case left an indelible mark on American culture. It sparked conversations about family dynamics, abuse, and the criminal justice system. It also raised questions about the role of wealth and privilege in shaping perceptions of guilt and innocence. The brothers, now in their 50s, remain incarcerated. They have maintained their innocence, claiming they acted in self-defense. Their case continues to generate interest and debate, a stark reminder of the complexities of human nature and the enduring power of family secrets. The Menendez story is a tragedy on many levels. It is a story of abuse, violence, and the devastating consequences of unchecked rage. It is also a story of a family torn apart by secrets and lies, a family forever haunted by the ghosts of that fateful night in Beverly Hills.